The night I proposed to Isabella, she neither rejected me nor accepted me. Instead, she asked me to give her some time. She told me honestly, I don't want to have any regrets in my life. Before accepting your confession, I want to confess to the men I've secretly loved for years. I want to experience a love without regrets. Hearing that, my mind went blank for a moment. Am I some kind of fool? I'm not here to collect someone else's leftovers. I laughed, though, and thanked her for her honesty. So I turned around and married someone else. Later, she called me again. Benjamin, I'm ready to accept your proposal now. Go ahead and make the arrangements. But it was my wife who answered the phone. She chuckled and said, sorry, he's already my husband. Chapter 1. The 7th year of my relationship with Isabella. I was preparing to give her a special surprise on her birthday, a marriage proposal. For this moment, I had planned meticulously for a long time. From choosing the ring to arranging the venue, every little detail was filled with my love for her. That night, when the lights softened and the music floated gently through the air, I felt that everything was perfect. When I finally gathered the courage to kneel on one knee and take out that ring symbolizing eternal commitment, I said with all my heart, will you marry me? The people around us were moved by the romance of the moment and began to cheer in unison. Say yes, say yes. For a moment, I thought this would be one of the most beautiful moments of my life. However, things didn't go as expected. Faced with my proposal, Isabella hesitated. Her eyes were filled with complicated emotions. Benjamin, could you give me some time? I don't want my life to have any regrets. Then she added, before marrying you, I want to confess to another man. I just want to experience at least once what it feels like to have a love without regrets. When I heard that, it felt like someone had struck me in the chest. I was completely stunned. When that's over, I'll say yes to you without hesitation. She continued, but those words had already lost all meaning to me. The air around us froze. The once lively private room turned silent in an instant, leaving only awkwardness and confusion. I was completely dazed. I never expected the night to end like that. Chapter 2. Seeing the look on my face, Isabella hurried to explain. Benjamin, please believe me, I really do like you, and I know you'll make a great husband someday. But, her voice trembled as she spoke, I just don't want to leave any regrets for myself. Since you know my feelings for you are sincere, shouldn't you understand how I feel? After hearing her words, although my heart was still filled with confusion and disappointment, I forced a faint smile. At that moment, even though I pretended to act indifferent, deep inside I felt like my heart was being torn apart. It turned out that, in this relationship, I had always been nothing more than a backup lover, someone she kept around just in case. Then, Isabella gathered her courage and confessed her feelings to her male friend, Daniel. Her eyes were filled with nervous anticipation, as if this very moment was the most important turning point in her life. Daniel, she said softly, would you be willing to have a relationship with me, one that we'll never regret? Although her voice trembled, her tone was firm and resolute. Her words carried a deep longing, a desperate hope that Daniel would respond to her feelings. Daniel looked at Isabella tenderly at first, a flicker of surprise flashing in his eyes, then that surprise quickly turned into smug satisfaction. He turned his head and looked straight at me, his gaze full of provocation, as if he were proudly showing off his victory. Then, right in front of me, Daniel answered Isabella with a devoted expression. I'm willing, Isabella. His voice was filled with joy and triumph, as though he had just won the most precious treasure in the world. I stood there frozen like a fool, my chest burning with humiliation and anger. Those two shameless lovers didn't even bother to hide it anymore, they got together right before my eyes. To me, it was nothing short of utter humiliation. Back then, Isabella told me that if something was meant to happen between them, it would have happened long ago. There was no need to wait until now. And I, like an idiot, actually believed her. I used to think that what we had was genuine, but now I see how foolish I truly was. People had warned me before that Isabella and Daniel were unusually close, that I should be careful, but back then, I was so blinded by love that I couldn't see who they really were. I thought I could change everything, yet in the end, I became nothing more than the punchline of their cruel joke. Chapter 3. That shameless couple wrapped their arms around each other and started kissing passionately right in front of everyone's shocked eyes. Their behavior stunned the crowd. People whispered in disbelief, unable to comprehend what they were seeing, and I stood there, watching it all unfold, my heart filled with helplessness and pain. Daniel glanced at me from the corner of his eye, as if mocking my weakness and powerlessness. There was a gleam of triumph in his eyes, a look that said he had won. Rage clouded my mind, boiling inside me with nowhere to go. Before I knew it, I lunged forward and landed a solid punch right on Daniel's face. He fell instantly, and I pinned him to the ground, hitting him again and again. The fury inside me erupted like a volcano, uncontrollable, consuming every bit of reason I had left. It was only then that the onlookers snapped out of their shock and rushed in to pull us apart. They tried to stop me, their voices overlapping, desperate to calm the chaos. Isabella immediately rushed to Daniel's side, shielding him behind her as she glared at me with accusation in her eyes. Benjamin, what right do you have to hit Daniel? What has he ever done to you? Her voice was sharp with anger and disappointment, her expression full of disgust and contempt. Apologize to him right now, she snapped coldly, or I'll never forgive you. I let out a bitter laugh, a laugh dripping with irony and self-mockery. Suddenly, my chest tightened, as if an invisible hand had gripped my heart and squeezed it so hard I could barely breathe. The scene before me was like a sharp blade, mercilessly slicing apart the last illusion I had about love. The woman I had cherished, protected, and treated like a treasure was now passionately kissing another man right before my eyes. Her lips, the very same lips I had kissed countless times, were now pressed against someone else's. At that moment, my heart shattered like porcelain falling from a great height, breaking into countless sharp fragments. Each shard pierced deeper into me, stabbing my chest until I could hardly breathe. You too, I stammered, trying to force out some words, but my throat tightened painfully, as if something had lodged inside, and no sound came out. Chapter 04. She turned to me without a hint of remorse, her gaze even defiant. I just want to have another relationship before marrying you. Those words struck me like lightning on a clear day. My ears buzzed from the impact. I stood frozen, unable to believe she had actually said that. Besides, what law says I can only love one person? She continued, with an offensively casual tone. Hearing that, the anger inside me could no longer be contained, but I knew that if I let my rage take over, it would only make her feel even more satisfied. So I repressed my fury and said calmly, let's end this. If you choose her, then stay with her. I wish you both the best. My friends, seeing this, quickly came over to defend me. Isabella, how can you be so despicable? Benjamin has been so good to you. How could you do this to him? Aren't you ashamed of what you're doing? Facing their accusations, Isabella showed no shame. Instead, she pretended to feel wronged and immediately began to cry. What's so despicable about what I'm doing? She complained. Tears streamed down her cheeks, but there wasn't the slightest trace of regret in her eyes. I'm still going to marry Benjamin, she insisted. I didn't say no to his proposal. I just asked him to wait a little longer. She stubbornly tried to justify herself, her voice filled with obstinacy. What have I done wrong? She asked, as if she truly couldn't understand where she had failed. Isabella's frivolous and cynical words left everyone speechless. They looked at each other, and in the end, all shook their heads helplessly. My friends looked at me with pity, patting my shoulder as if to say that Isabella was beyond redemption. Chapter 05. I stood there in silence, my heart turned into a wasteland. I knew that from that moment on, the love I had for Isabella was truly dead. Yes, that's a good idea. To keep Daniel from getting jealous, let's break up for now, she said in a soft but firm voice, as if declaring an irrevocable decision. Then she added, in a tone both playful and commanding, but promise me you'll wait for me. Okay, don't get involved with anyone else. I laughed out of pure rage at Isabella's logic. Where did she get such confidence in herself? Did she really think I was her puppet, someone she could control at will? I wanted to open her head to see if there was anything inside besides shit. That thought even startled me, but the fury had stripped me of reason. I thought whatever came to mind. That was Isabella, acting on impulse without caring about the consequences. Without looking back, I walked out of the private room with a shattered heart. 7 years of relationship ended with brutal ease. Just as I was leaving, Daniel, who had remained silent, merely observing, spoke in a deep, calm voice. Isabella, aren't you worried that someone might take him away from you along the way? He asked. After all, a man like him doesn't come around every day, and if it happens, no need to worry, she replied confidently. He loves me so much that when I snap my fingers, he'll come like a dog, kneel down, and beg me to marry him. Don't worry. Hearing that, I couldn't help but laugh bitterly inside. I finally understood that to her, I was nothing more than a simp, a pagafantas, a disposable plan B she could use and discard whenever it suited her. Yeah, of course, said Daniel. A simp like him will end up exactly like that. Chapter 06. Daniel chimed in, and their conversation made me feel sick to my stomach. Enough about that, what should we do next? Daniel changed the topic. Isabella replied shyly. What do you mean? What should we do? Of course, what boyfriends and girlfriends do together. That night, for the first time in my life, I got drunk, completely drunk, but alcohol couldn't numb the pain in my heart. Instead, it made me even more painfully aware of my own misery. Saying I wasn't sad or heartbroken would be a lie. After all, 7 years of love between us had just ended for no apparent reason, and it ended completely. My heart felt as if it had been torn apart, unbearably painful. The next afternoon, a little after 3, sunlight streamed through the gaps in the curtains and fell across my face. I slowly opened my eyes, waking up on the couch at my friend Romeo's place. I rubbed my bleary eyes, trying to shake off the fog of the hangover. Romeo was still lying on the other couch, sprawled out and snoring loudly. As if everything that happened last night had been nothing more than an insignificant dream to him. I gently shook my head, a bitter feeling rising in my chest. I sat up, patted my dizzy head, and tried to clear my mind. Instantly, those unpleasant memories flooded back like a tidal wave. I had failed my proposal, and my girlfriend, Isabella, had run off with another man. You must think that's ridiculous, and yes, it truly is. 7 years of love and devotion, and in the end, I had nothing left but heartbreak and disappointment. I stared blankly for more than 10 minutes, feeling an unbearable thirst. Then I opened the fridge and grabbed a bottle of water. Gulping it down, the cold water slid down my throat, but it couldn't calm the storm inside me. Chapter 07. At that moment, Romeo woke up too. He rubbed his eyes and glanced at the water bottle in my hand, as if he wanted to say something, but in the end, he just sighed and stayed silent. I knew he was also feeling sad and helpless for me. By the time I left Romeo's place and got back home, it was already past 7 in the evening. The house was empty, so quiet that I could hear my own breathing. Everything inside looked exactly the same as before, not a thing out of place. I knew Isabella hadn't come home last night. A wave of crushing emptiness washed over me, almost suffocating. If everything had gone as planned, this would have been our happy little home, mine and Isabella's. But now, everything had changed. The person who once promised to spend the rest of her life with me had vanished from my world. I let out a hollow laugh and went back to the bedroom to sleep some more. After all the alcohol from last night, I still didn't feel quite right. The first day, the second day, the third day, time passed day by day. It was as if Isabella had disappeared completely from my world, and gradually, I began to move on from that failed relationship. I threw away everything that belonged to Isabella, and I changed the door code. 2. This apartment was supposed to be our marital home. But now that I no longer intended to marry her, she had no right to enter anymore. To be honest, in those first few days after breaking up with Isabella, whenever night fell and everything went quiet, I still couldn't help but think of her, of all those beautiful moments we once shared. Chapter 08. That weekend. Sunlight lazily spilled across the curtains. I was curled up on the couch, immersed in an adventure in the virtual world. The rhythmic tapping of the keyboard and the stirring music in my headphones formed the only melody in my small, private universe. But that peace was suddenly shattered by a rapid, insistent knocking at the door. Who is it? I shouted impatiently, my fingers still glued to the keyboard, trying to cling to what little focus I had left in the game. Benjamin, open the door. I know you're in there. The voice outside was all too familiar and infuriating. It was Isabella. Half a month ago, she had vanished like the wind, no warning, no message, no explanation. And now, she had reappeared, acting as if nothing had happened, as if everything were perfectly normal. I wanted to ignore her, but the relentless knocking was clearly designed to test my patience. I could no longer concentrate on the game. A wave of irritation surged through me. With a heavy sigh, I finally stood up and went to open the door. The moment it swung open, there she was, Isabella, standing beside Daniel. At their feet lay a pile of luggage, big and small. Clearly, they hadn't come empty-handed. What do you want, Isabella? I snapped, hearing me call her by her full name. She froze for a moment, a flicker of surprise flashing in her eyes. But she quickly regained her usual composure, that infuriating look that said she still had everything under control. Instead of explaining, she began to question me. Why did you change the password to the house? What? Are you hiding another woman in there? Her accusation filled me with both anger and disbelief. She was always like this, never admitting fault, always shifting the blame to someone else. Chapter 09. This is my house. What's wrong with changing the password? I shot back. Even if I did bring another woman home, what's it to you? Get it straight, we already broke up. Isabella had the nerve to smirk, the corners of her lips curling into a half-mocking smile. So what if we broke up? This is still my home. I want to live here. Her tone was dripping with entitlement, as if she truly believed it was her right. Isabella, what right do you have to live here? I couldn't help raising my voice. Did you pay rent? Did you help buy this place? What makes you think you still belong here? Stop it, Benjamin. Her voice suddenly softened, carrying that same pitiful tone she always used. I know you're just jealous, angry that I didn't say yes to your proposal that night. I already explained it to you. What more do you want? Don't make me really hate you. If you do, even if you beg me later, I won't take you back. I gave a bitter laugh. So that was her logic again. It was always someone else's fault. She was always the victim. Yeah, Benjamin, Daniel chimed in smugly. Isabella and I are just dating. That's all. She'll still end up with you in the end. You're such a man, and yet you can't even handle your woman liking another guy. How petty can you be? His words dripped with disdain and mockery. In his eyes was a glint of provocation, as if saying, see, you'll never beat me. I tried my best to stay calm. But the fury boiling inside me was like a volcano about to erupt. Get out. Don't make me hit you, because this time, no one's going to stop me. My voice was cold as steel, my gaze sharp enough to cut. Daniel's smug grin froze instantly. He avoided my eyes. And for the first time, I saw a flicker of fear and embarrassment cross his face. He knew he had truly pushed me too far. Chapter 10. Benjamin. I'm warning you, show some respect to Daniel. He's my boyfriend now. You'd better apologize to both of us right away. Isabella stood beside Daniel, her voice shrill and cutting. Her eyes gleamed with arrogance and pride, as if she had already won some invisible battle. Then take your dog of a boyfriend and get out of my house. Don't ever show up in front of me again. I shot back coldly, without the slightest trace of hesitation. My tone was icy, firm, utterly unyielding. Isabella grew even more aggressive. Benjamin, are you deaf? I said. Get on your knees and apologize to me and Daniel. Her voice rose higher and higher, sharp enough to pierce the air. That was it. I exploded. Apologize your damn ass. Get the hell out before I call the police and report you for trespassing. My roar thundered through the room, shaking the walls with sheer fury. Isabella's face flushed crimson, her eyes blazing with anger. I'm telling you, with the way you're acting today, you'll never measure up to my Daniel. She spat the words with venom, then added mockingly. Daniel even thought about bringing you a gift during our trip. Can you believe that? Her tone was full of scorn. You don't even deserve Daniel's gift. Just wait, you'll regret this someday. You'll pay for what you did today. Isabella glared at me one last time, threw out those vicious words, and stormed off. Her figure disappeared beyond the door, leaving behind an eerie silence. I couldn't help but wonder how she could be so sure that I would ever regret this. Maybe she still thought I had feelings for her. How laughable. I wasn't the same person I used to be. The old me might have been wounded by her words, but not anymore. Daniel clearly hadn't expected me to lose my temper like that. Carrying all those bags, he scurried after Isabella like a frightened puppy. His steps clumsy and awkward. Watching his pathetic retreat, I felt an odd, unexpected sense of satisfaction. So, Isabella had been off traveling with Daniel for the past half-month. For the sake of this so-called no-regrets love affair, she'd even blocked me on WeChat and deleted my number. That's why I hadn't known where she'd gone. It wasn't until a friend told me later that I finally understood. They had already started their new life together. Chapter 11. Downstairs in the complex, the night was ink-dark and the streetlights cast a dim, yellow glow as Isabella stormed off. Isabella, where will you live after this? Daniel couldn't help calling out, his voice carrying a faint, barely noticeable concern. Isabella stopped and turned, her expression shifting from anger to thoughtful consideration. After a moment's thought, her eyes hardened with resolve. I'll live with you. Hearing that, Daniel felt a rush of panic. Although their relationship had progressed, moving in together felt sudden to him. Is that okay? What if Benjamin finds out? Daniel hesitated. Isabella smiled slightly, her tone lightly teasing. Daniel, we're boyfriend and girlfriend now. What's wrong with living together? It's only natural. Do you dislike me or something? Daniel hurriedly shook his head, an awkward smile on his face. How could I dislike you? I'd be thrilled. But didn't you two say you were breaking up temporarily? Daniel probed. Isabella's gaze softened a little. She replied quietly, yes, we're only temporarily broken up. He's only fit to be a husband, not a boyfriend. She said with a trace of mockery, if you want romance, you should pick someone like you. Isabella looked at Daniel with a gentle light in her eyes. Daniel nodded in agreement, a warm feeling welling up inside him. Right. Benjamin's all work and no fun. He's got no sense of romance at all. Daniel then grinned mischievously. So how long do we plan to date? Isabella thought for a moment and answered, we'll see how it goes. Just thinking about how he treated you earlier makes me so mad. I want to punish him properly. Chapter 12. A month had passed since Isabella and I broke up, yet my feelings were still tangled and uneasy. That night, I was at home, aimlessly scrolling through my phone when I suddenly got a call from Romeo. Hey, Benjamin, there's a class reunion tomorrow night. You coming? Romeo's voice came through the phone, full of excitement. I thought about it for a second. Since I didn't have any plans for the night anyway, I decided to say yes. I hadn't attended any class reunions these past few years, mainly because Isabella used to say that my evenings should belong to her alone. She'd say, if we're being honest, a class reunion is just an old lovers meetup in disguise. So, Isabella had strictly forbidden me from going. At the time, I thought it was just because she cared about me. She was afraid I'd get flirted with by someone else. So I obediently listened to her. The next night, not long after Romeo and I arrived, Jennifer showed up. Her arrival immediately drew the attention of several male classmates. They hurried over to greet her. Jennifer, long time no see. What made you decide to come to this year's reunion all of a sudden? One of the guys teased. Could it be because of someone? Jennifer chuckled softly. Oh, it's just been a while since I've seen everyone. I finally had some free time this year, so I thought I'd come by. Just then, a few female classmates rushed over to pull Jennifer to their side and save her from the teasing. Ugh, you guys are disgusting. What's going on in those dirty minds of yours all day long? Yeah, get lost. Shoo. I had to admit, Jennifer was still as popular as ever. She wasn't what you'd call stunning, but she had the kind of beauty that grew on you. Her personality was also great, easygoing and considerate. She could get along with anyone and always knew where the line was. There was an inexplicable charm about her that drew both guys and girls alike. Romeo nudged me with his elbow, smirking mischievously. You think she came because of you? I looked at Jennifer chatting and laughing in the crowd and smiled. No way, Romeo, with a serious yet regretful look, said. You really don't know, do you? Back in college, she had a crush on you. We all knew it, except you, you clueless fool. Hearing that, I couldn't help but feel surprised. Thinking back to our college days, there were indeed little signs that Jennifer might have liked me. We often went to classes together, ate together, did homework together, but I'd never thought about it that way. I'd always assumed we were just friends. Chapter 13. When I heard Romeo mention Isabella's name, I felt as if I had swallowed a fly. Disgust rose up from the pit of my stomach. Don't say that disgusting name, I said with a frown, my tone dripping with irritation. At this point, I no longer felt anything for Isabella. All that was left was revulsion. What used to be sweet memories had now turned into a thorn in my heart. Every time I thought of her, I felt sick. Romeo didn't seem to care about my shift in mood. He just dragged me forward to say hello. Jennifer, gorgeous as ever, where have you been making all that money lately? Care to share some of that luck with your little brother here? His tone was full of teasing humor. Jennifer laughed playfully. Oh, Romeo the rich young master, don't mock me. I was hoping you'd be the one to show me how to get rich. Her playful words made everyone around chuckle. Then she turned to me, smiling softly, her eyes gentle. Long time no see. Benjamin, how have you been lately? Faced with her question, I felt a bit awkward. I scratched my head unconsciously. I've been okay. It was a simple answer, but it was the truest thing I could say. Ever since breaking up with Isabella, my world had lost its color. Every day had been dull and lifeless. Romeo, of course, wasn't going to let that topic go. Just okay, come on. This guy got rejected when he tried to propose not long ago. Jennifer caught onto the teasing and added with a grin. Seems like your taste in women isn't that great. Benjamin, how about you try proposing to me instead? Chapter 14. As soon as she said that, the air around us shifted. There was a strange, indescribable tension in the room. I knew she was just joking, the kind of banter friends throw around, but it still hurt a little inside. After all, being rejected wasn't exactly something I was proud of. Luckily, everyone here were old friends, people I used to be really close with, and tonight's gathering was just among us. Those I wasn't that close to, like Isabella, weren't here. Thinking about that gave me a small sense of relief. Oh, looks like our beautiful Jennifer is making the first move. Romeo was the first to start the teasing again, and the private room instantly erupted in laughter and cheers. His words sparked a wave of playful excitement, and the atmosphere turned lively. Meanwhile, my face flushed red all the way to my ears. Having just learned that Jennifer once had a crush on me, this sudden confession caught me completely off guard. I stammered, unable to form a full sentence, my heart swirling with mixed emotions. Mostly, I was unsure, was I really ready to step into another relationship again? Sensing my discomfort, Jennifer playfully hit Romeo on the arm to shift the attention away. Will you stop talking nonsense already? Her movements were light and natural, giving everyone an easy way out of the awkward moment. Thanks to her, the tense atmosphere slowly melted away. Chapter 15. When the reunion finally ended, the sky had already grown dark, and the city lights were beginning to fade into the distance. Romeo and the others, almost as if they had rehearsed this moment countless times, shared a knowing, mischievous smile before gently nudging Jennifer toward me. Benjamin, you and Jennifer live in the same direction. You should give her a ride home. Romeo's voice echoed in my ears, distant yet clear, as though coming from far away. A moment later, they all scattered like the wind, leaving Jennifer and me standing beneath a dim streetlight. Our shadows stretched long on the pavement, weaving together. On the drive back, soft music filled the car. We chatted aimlessly about the weather, work, and the moments we'd missed over the years. Every word was cautious, careful, as if we were both afraid to brush against the tender parts of our hearts. But that calm didn't last long. Jennifer suddenly turned toward me, her eyes shining with a seriousness I had never seen before. The thing I said during Truth or Dare, have you thought about it? Her voice was quiet, but it hit like a pebble dropped into a still lake, sending ripples across my heart. I tried to sound casual, though my chest was pounding. You said a lot tonight, I'm not sure which part you're talking about. It was both a deflection and a test. I wanted to know if the truth behind her teasing was what I hoped it might be. To my surprise, Jennifer didn't hesitate for even a second. She looked straight at me and said the words that made my heart stop. "Let's be together." My foot instinctively slammed the brake. The tires screeched against the pavement as the car came to a sharp stop at the roadside. I turned to look at her. The light from the street lamp spilled through the window, casting a soft halo over her face. In that moment, she was breathtaking, so beautiful that I forgot to breathe. Chapter 16. I tried to calm the storm inside me. "You know, it's just that not long ago." Before I could finish, she interrupted gently. "You don't have to give me an answer right now. Just take your time and think about it." Her voice carried no pressure, only warmth, understanding, and respect. "I'll be staying here for work over the next few weeks," she said softly. "Before I leave, just tell me what you decide." Her words felt like a spring breeze, warm yet steady, melting the ice that had long guarded my heart. 7 years ago, I missed my chance with you. 7 years later, I don't want to make the same mistake again. This time, I want to try. The light in her eyes was unwavering, filled with both forgiveness for the past and hope for the future. The car started again, moving slowly down the quiet street. My mind was a whirlpool of emotions. When we reached her hotel, the night was deep and still. She smiled softly and said, "Thank you," before turning to walk toward the entrance. I watched her figure grow smaller and smaller until the doors closed behind her. Sitting alone in the car, I stared at that door, feeling a strange, indescribable emotion swelling in my chest. Chapter 17. The day before Jennifer was set to leave, I asked Romeo out for a drink. The moment he saw me, the first thing he said was, "So, how's it going with Jennifer?" He grinned from ear to ear, that mischievous smile of his full of satisfaction. That's when it hit me, that so-called reunion a while back was probably his doing. No wonder everyone that night seemed so eager to push Jennifer and me together. "I'm thinking maybe I should just turn her down," I said quietly. "I don't want to date anyone. I don't want to get married either." "Are you an idiot?" He shot back immediately. "Why would you let go of someone like Jennifer?" I sighed. "It's not that. I just don't think I'm good at relationships. I never have been. And honestly, I don't plan on getting married. It's exhausting." Romeo's expression suddenly grew serious. "Whether a relationship works or not depends on who you're with." He looked me straight in the eyes. "You could date Isabella 100 times over, and it still wouldn't work. In that relationship, you were the one giving everything, and she just kept taking. That's not love. Love takes two people," he said firmly. "It's something both have to build together." His words made me pause. "But wouldn't it be unfair to her?" I murmured. "If I say yes, this would be Jennifer's first relationship, and me, I'm just broken. What if she ends up resenting me for it?" "She won't," Romeo said without hesitation. "Look, you're not a bad guy, Benjamin. You're 30, and you've only ever had one relationship. That's something to be proud of, not ashamed of." He leaned in slightly, his tone softening. "I think Isabella hurt you so badly that you've convinced yourself you're the problem, that no matter how much you give, you'll never be loved the same way. So now you tell yourself you don't deserve real love or happiness." His words struck deep. I froze, unable to respond. I hadn't realized how clearly he saw through me, all the doubts, the guilt, the fear. He laid them bare without mercy. It was true. After that last relationship, I had gone from doubting myself to doubting everyone else, flinching at every hint of affection, assuming I'd never fall in love again, never be loved again. But thinking back, I had done my best. I had nothing to be ashamed of. So why was I punishing myself for someone else's mistakes? When did I become so afraid of trying again? If those who toy with love are destined for heartbreak, then surely those who give it sincerely won't be left alone forever. "You deserve a good relationship," Romeo said firmly, giving my shoulder a reassuring pat. It felt like he was telling me not to hesitate, to take this chance before it slipped away. "She's getting off work soon," he added with a grin. "If you show up to pick her up, she'll be over the moon." I stood up, hesitated for a moment, and then said, "Romeo, do you think I stop overthinking men?" He cut me off, half laughing, half yelling. "You're a grown man, quit being so dramatic and go." He pointed toward the door, his grin widening. "If you don't make Jennifer stay, I swear I'll knock some sense into that thick skull of yours myself." Chapter 18. I slowly pulled my car into a parking spot beneath Jennifer's office building, my heart beating faster with every passing second. Through the windshield, I gazed at the familiar high-rise, a rush of excitement and anticipation welling up inside me, feelings I could hardly put into words. She was getting off work in 10 minutes. I tried to steady my breathing, forcing myself to calm down. The cold December wind slapped against my face mercilessly, as if testing both my patience and determination. I tightened my coat around me, doing my best to stay composed, not to let the biting chill shake my resolve. And then, I saw her, that familiar silhouette stepping out from the building entrance. Jennifer. She wore a light, flowing dress, A streak of warmth against the winter air, like sunlight breaking through the frost, melting away every trace of cold inside me. The moment she spotted me, a mischievous smile curved on her lips. "I'm leaving tomorrow," she said playfully. "Are you here to see me off, or to make me stay?" My voice trembled slightly as I replied, "What if? I mean, if I asked you to stay, would you?" Jennifer blinked, a flicker of amusement lighting up her eyes. "Stay for what?" she teased softly. "If you don't make yourself clear, I might not have a reason to." Her words carried that same blend of teasing and subtle expectation, the kind that made my pulse race. I clenched my teeth, summoning all my courage, and looked straight into her eyes. "Stay and be my girlfriend," I said, my voice firm but full of emotion. "I like you, Jennifer." As soon as the words left my mouth, embarrassment hit me like a wave. I bit my lip and glanced away, afraid to see her reaction. Time seemed to freeze. The air between us grew thick and still, so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat echoing in my ears. It felt like a century passed in that single minute, and just when I thought I was about to face rejection again, Jennifer suddenly stepped forward and slipped into my arms. "It's freezing," she murmured sweetly. "Hold me tighter, my boyfriend." Then, in that soft, playful tone that only she could manage, she added, "I want hot pot. Can you take me to eat hot pot?" For a moment, I was stunned, then it hit me, and warmth surged through my chest. I wrapped my arms tightly around her, smiling from the heart. "Of course," I said softly. "Let's go. I'll take you to the best hot pot place in town." Chapter 19. The bar was dimly lit and the music low. Isabella and her close friend Miriam sat in a corner booth, two empty cocktail glasses in front of them. This was their regular spot, a familiar, slightly foreign little world they always came back to for gatherings. Isabella often dragged her girlfriends here to drink, and once she started, she never seemed to stop. Tonight was no different. She seemed intent on using alcohol to numb her nerves, to forget anything having to do with Benjamin. Miriam, however, looked troubled. She knew there were things that had to be said, but she feared they might hurt Isabella. "Isabella, did you know Benjamin already has a new girlfriend?" Miriam asked tentatively, her voice edged with hesitation. Isabella lifted her head. A flicker of confusion crossed her face, but she quickly regained composure. "I know. They won't last," she answered confidently, the tone carrying a kind of certainty. Miriam couldn't help but feel puzzled. She didn't understand why Isabella was so sure. Why are you so certain?" she pressed, calmly and with an air of self-assurance. Isabella explained her own reasoning. "Benjamin is just trying to make me jealous. It's all an act. The one he loves most is still me." A smug smile appeared on her face, as if everything were under her control. Miriam tried to steer her back, hoping Isabella would change her mind, but she also knew that was unlikely. "But I feel like Benjamin is serious this time," Miriam said. Isabella's eyes, however, shone with resolute conviction. "Just wait and see. As soon as I snap my fingers, he'll come back to me. No one else is good enough for him. He's such a boring person," Isabella continued, her tone dripping with disdain toward Benjamin. At that moment, Daniel appeared at the bar's entrance. His gaze immediately landed on Isabella, and a smile played across his face. He strode up to Isabella, and they cozied up to one another. Miriam glanced at the pair, a pathetic man and woman in her eyes, rolled her eyes and let out a bitter snort. Contempt swelled in her heart. She silently thought, "Isabella, you'll regret this." Miriam knew that Isabella's behavior would only drag her deeper into pain. Chapter 20. Not long after, Isabella asked Miriam out again. This time, she had a favor to ask. After spending some time with Daniel, she had already grown tired of him. Aside from being somewhat handsome, Daniel had no redeeming qualities whatsoever. The worst part, he wasn't as wealthy as Benjamin. If Daniel had money, she wouldn't have minded breaking up with Benjamin for good and turning her little fling with Daniel into something real. But as things stood, Daniel's appeal had worn off fast. Even Isabella herself felt she might have gone too far this time. Yet she told herself it had only been a bit of fun, nothing serious. Once the thrill wore off, all that was left was boredom. The more she thought about it, the more she realized Benjamin was the better choice. He had money, a car, a house, decent looks, and a strong sense of responsibility, a perfect candidate for a husband. Every time she was with Daniel, Benjamin's image would flash through her mind. When she was still with Benjamin, she'd thought of him as nagging, always reminding her of things, always worrying about her. But every word he said was for her own good. Whenever she got drunk, no matter how late it was, all it took was one call and Benjamin would show up to take her home, staying up all night to care for her. Daniel, on the other hand, was just a drinking buddy. They usually got wasted together and then called someone else to drive them home. Some people seem annoying when you're with them, too quiet, too proper, too boring. Benjamin had been that kind of person to her. He didn't drink, didn't smoke, and his world revolved entirely around work and her. In short, Benjamin was a perfect man, and ironically, that was what had made her restless. She wanted to try something different, to see what other men were like. Miriam finally broke the silence. So, what's this about, Isabella? Why did you ask me out? Isabella stirred her drink slowly before saying, "Can you tell Benjamin that I'm planning to break up with Daniel? Ask him to get ready." Miriam hesitated. She didn't want to get involved, not this time. But remembering how Isabella had once helped her in the past, she reluctantly agreed. "Fine," she said at last. "I'll help you this one last time, but you'd better be prepared." Her voice turned cold. "Benjamin isn't coming back this time." Chapter 21. When Isabella heard those words, her heart sank. She knew her choices might drive Benjamin away for good, but deep down, she also understood she couldn't keep living like this. Something had to change. Taking a deep breath, she said to Miriam, "I understand. Thank you for the reminder. I'll think about it carefully." Back home, Isabella lay in bed, tossing and turning as her thoughts ran wild. She replayed her memories with Benjamin, those sweet, gentle days that now felt so close yet so distant. She remembered how kind he had been, his patience, his warmth, his quiet devotion. After officially breaking up with Daniel, her heart was filled with mixed emotions, a sense of relief for ending things with Daniel, but also a flicker of hope and longing for Benjamin. She truly believed that once she was single again, the man who used to care for her so completely, Benjamin, would come back to her, just like before. But the first day passed, and Benjamin didn't show up. Isabella told herself he was probably just busy, maybe he needed some time to think. Then came the second day, the third, a week went by, and still, there was no sign of him. Benjamin didn't come knocking on her door like he used to, pleading for her to take him back. Anxiety began to gnaw at her. She kept checking her phone, over and over again, hoping to see his name light up the screen. But the phone stayed silent. No calls, no messages, nothing from him. Convinced Miriam hadn't told him, Isabella lost her temper and exploded at her over the phone. The argument quickly escalated into a shouting match. Miriam, finally fed up, snapped back. "You brought this on yourself. You had a good man and threw him away for a pretty face. Now you regret it. Too late." Furious, Isabella ended the call and declared their friendship over. And Miriam, sick of Isabella's endless drama, simply hung up, ending the call without another word. Chapter 22. After waiting so long without hearing from Benjamin, Isabella started to panic. She began to reflect on her own behavior, realizing that she might have truly hurt Benjamin. Forget it, this time, she had gone too far. She decided to take the initiative and call him, to sincerely apologize to Benjamin. Maybe if she gave him a taste of sweetness, he would come back to her. Isabella thought silently to herself. She began to imagine how delighted Benjamin would be when he received her call. Unconsciously, the corners of her lips curved upward slightly. Finally, Isabella gathered her courage and dialed Benjamin's number. The ringtone echoed for quite a while, repeating again and again. With each ring, a strange anxiety slowly rose within Isabella's heart. She sat on the sofa, her fingers tapping the armrest involuntarily, her eyes staring blankly ahead. It was as if she were waiting for something important to happen. In the past, Benjamin would have picked up on the very first ring. He had always responded to her call immediately, no matter if it was late at night or early in the morning. No matter how busy he was, he would always make time to talk to her for a bit. But now, the phone just kept ringing with no one answering. It filled Isabella with an unprecedented sense of unease and disappointment. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the call was answered. At that moment, Isabella's tense heart finally relaxed. She let out a small sigh of relief, the corners of her mouth lifting slightly. She thought, "See, Benjamin still loves me to death. How could he possibly ignore my call on purpose?" It had been more than 2 months since Isabella last called Benjamin. Before making this call, she had been reflecting on her mistakes and had carefully planned out how she would apologize. However, when the moment truly arrived, all her rehearsed words suddenly felt meaningless and weak. "Benjamin, are you out of your mind? Why haven't you come to get back together with me yet?" As soon as the words left her mouth, Isabella realized her tone was too forceful, almost like a command. Chapter 23. "I'm ready to accept your proposal now. Hurry up and arrange it." She tried to soften her tone, hoping to express her willingness in a gentler way, perhaps to make up for her past mistakes. Just as Isabella was about to continue speaking, a woman's soft laugh suddenly interrupted her. The laugh was clear and pleasant, yet it poured over her remaining hope like a bucket of cold water. "Sorry, but he's already my husband." Jennifer spoke gently, her voice calm and composed. "I'm afraid he can't propose to you anymore, Isabella." At that moment, Isabella froze. Her hand trembled, nearly dropping the phone. "Jennifer?" That voice was not unfamiliar to her. "Jennifer?" She clenched the phone tightly, as if she could crush it in her grip, uncertainly uttering the name. "Miss Isabella, you're quite clever. One guess and you got it right." Jennifer's tone remained steady and calm, completely unshaken. Where's Benjamin? Let him answer the phone, Isabella nearly shouted, her voice filled with anger and resentment. He's in the shower right now, Jennifer replied evenly. If you have something to say, tell me, I'll pass it along. Jennifer, you bitch. Isabella finally lost control of her emotions, blurting out the curse, but before she could finish, the call was disconnected. When she tried to call again, she realized the number had been blocked. At that moment, Isabella completely broke down. She hurled her phone onto the floor with a sharp crack. The screen shattered instantly, fragments scattering everywhere, just like her heart, broken beyond repair. I came out of the bathroom and gently wrapped my arms around Jennifer from behind, leaning down to whisper in her ear, "Who was that?" Jennifer turned to me with a smile and said, "Your ex-girlfriend. She wants you to propose to her." I frowned, puzzled, and asked, "Am I insane? Why would I ever want a trashy woman like that when I already have such a wonderful wife?" Jennifer and I hadn't officially registered our marriage yet, but our families had already met. In a few days, once the auspicious date arrived, we'd hold the engagement banquet and complete the marriage registration, two of life's biggest events, together. As for an ex like Isabella, I no longer had any trace of attachment. Chapter 24. I knew that eventually, Isabella would come back to me, but I no longer loved her. I didn't want to play this endless game with her anymore. When we met again, Isabella looked lost and broken. Her eyes were red and swollen, bloodshot as if she had cried all night. Her makeup wasn't as refined as before, but her face was still beautiful. I, on the other hand, was the complete opposite. I had slept well the previous night, and my spirit was full of energy. As Jennifer and I were walking home hand in hand, I saw Isabella standing at the entrance of my neighborhood. When she turned and saw me, she froze for a long moment. It felt like one of those slow-motion scenes in movies where ex-lovers meet again after a breakup. Only this time, our reunion would not have a happy ending. We could never go back to what we once were. I had Jennifer now, and I could never betray her. Isabella called my name softly, just like she used to, Benjamin. I stood still, expressionless. So this was what it felt like to truly let go, that even when the woman I once loved and hated stood before me again, my heart remained calm as still water. Benjamin, I'm back. Let's get married. Isabella's eyes stayed fixed on my face, filled with gentleness and longing. Benjamin, let's get back together. I know I was wrong. I promise I won't act out again. I won't make trouble anymore. She spoke with sincerity, and by the end, I could even hear a trace of humble pleading in her voice. That was something I could never have imagined before, but it was too late. Isabella, not every apology can earn forgiveness, and not every broken mirror can be made whole again. Chapter 25. A wave of indescribable emotion rose within me, a mix of relief and bitterness. The sweet memories of the past resurfaced as if they had just happened yesterday, but now, all that remained between us was coldness and distance. I knew this relationship had reached its end. There was no turning back. Sensing the slight tremor in my hand, Jennifer gently tightened her grip and gave me a comforting smile. Her warmth gave me strength and made my decision even clearer. I knew I couldn't let the past ruin my present happiness, nor could I betray Jennifer's love and trust. Isabella, it's over between us. Leave. I don't love you anymore. My voice was calm and resolute, as though declaring an irreversible truth. A flicker of shock flashed across Isabella's eyes, soon replaced by pain and unwillingness. She bit her lower lip hard, her voice trembling. Benjamin, listen to me. I was just fooling around with Daniel. My heart has always belonged to you. You think I'd believe that? I replied coldly, my eyes as still and lifeless as stagnant water. Isabella's heart sank, but she still refused to give up. Her trembling hands reached into her bag, taking out a delicate velvet ring box. Like a child presenting a precious treasure, she carefully held it out to me, her eyes full of desperate hope. Look, I bought a ring. I still remember your finger size. It'll fit perfectly. I didn't take it. Instead, I took a step back. Isabella, I have a girlfriend now, and in a few days, we're getting married. Don't make this uglier than it has to be. Let's just part peacefully. Isabella suddenly lost control, shouting hysterically. You're lying. You two are just pretending. You're doing this on purpose to make me jealous, aren't you? Come with me. This time, I promise, after we get married, we'll live well together. I'll give you a big, healthy baby boy. Isabella, I don't want to waste more words with you. Just leave, now. My tone grew impatient, enraged and humiliated. Isabella screamed, her voice shrill and piercing. Benjamin, Jennifer only loves you for your money. I'm not like her. Chapter 26. I stared at her coldly and asked, so what, Isabella? You mean you liked me, just me as a person? Isabella was rendered speechless, her face stiff and her heart filled with defeat. Don't think every woman in the world is like you, vain, greedy, and obsessed with drama. My tone carried a biting sarcasm. A few curious onlookers began to gather around, stopping to watch the scene unfold, whispering among themselves, perhaps startled by the sudden authority in my voice. Isabella froze for a moment. It wasn't until I gently took Jennifer's hand and walked past her that Isabella finally turned around, her voice trembling with tears. Benjamin, can you at least tell me, why did you choose her? It's simple, I said quietly, because she loves me. Isabella let out a self-deprecating laugh. Her expression filled with sorrow. She said nothing more, just stood there silently, motionless. From beginning to end, Benjamin hadn't held Jennifer's hand tightly, but he had always kept her safely behind him. There was once a night at a bar when she got into an argument, and Benjamin had protected her the same way, shielding her from harm. Only now, the one standing safely behind Benjamin was no longer her. She regretted it. Benjamin was still the same gentleman as before. Even though she was being unreasonable, he still spoke to her calmly and respectfully. At this moment, she finally understood. Benjamin no longer loved her. She had thought that even if he rejected her today, she wouldn't be that sad. But she had underestimated how deeply she still felt for him. Maybe she had fallen in love with Benjamin long ago, she just never realized it. People often fail to see themselves clearly when faced with choices, always doing things they'll regret later. Chapter 27. After that day, Isabella never appeared in my life again. A month later, at my and Jennifer's wedding banquet, all our friends and family were present. After being together for a while, Jennifer had confessed that the class reunion that night was actually a setup, arranged specifically to bring the two of us together, and Romeo was the mastermind behind it. At the wedding, I also learned that Romeo had another identity. He was actually Jennifer's cousin. Now, Jennifer and I have been married for 7 years. We have a son and a daughter, and our family is happy. Romeo still occasionally teases me, using his elder's title. Hey, brother-in-law, call me cousin. Come on. How about I call you grandpa instead? Heh, sure thing. Grandson, you bastard. Cousin, your husband's hitting people again.